Hi there, I am Edoardo. In this video, we will see how to design a modern blog using HTML, CSS and JavaScript. Just to ensure that the video does not stretch for a longer time, I have placed the HTML code for this blog in the description below, which you can also see on the screen now. This is the HTML code. To begin with, you can see that I have placed the CDN code for Font Awesome. Now you can get the CDN code by going to Google search, and here if you say Font Awesome CDN, and in the libraries, the first option, if you click, the first item you copy it and then paste it in the HTML. So this will give you the CDN code for Font Awesome. Then thereafter you will also see that I have the CSS code for Owl Carousel. So this is the software you're going to use for the slider, that is the carousel. Now for this, you need to again go to Google search, and here you say Owl Carousel slider, and in the first option you say demo. You click there. On the top you will find the download option. If you click on that, it will download the Owl Carousel, and once you download it, double click on the zip file and you find the Owl Carousel 2-2.3.4. This folder is opens, and inside this folder you have another folder, and inside this we have the dist folder. Inside the dist folder you have the assets folder, and inside the assets folder you have the owl.carousel.min.css and also owl.theme.default.min.css. So these two files, you need to link them to the HTML as we have done it here. And then similarly, if you come to the bottom here for the JavaScript, we also have the owlcarousel.min.js. Now for this, if you go one step back, and you will find the owl.carousel.min.js. This is the JavaScript file. So this file, you need to attach it to the JavaScript part at the bottom of the body part of the HTML. And then you will also have to download jQuery. You can run a Google search for jQuery and download jQuery and then give the link here. And also we have a slider.js file. So this is a blank file right now. We will be creating this file. So then coming to the top, I also have my own CSS file, which is named mystyle.css. So this is inside the CSS folder. Now if you come to the folder, blog, you can see I have these three folders. Inside the CSS folder, I have placed the Owl Carousel folder. Inside this, I have these two carousel files, and then I also have the mystyle.css. And then coming to the images, so these are all the images item wise they have been placed. We'll come to that later. And then under the JavaScript JS file, I have the jQuery, then owl.carousel.min.js, and then slider.js, these three files. I've already placed them here. And then I have the index.html, which is this file. Now having seen that, now coming to the title, I have placed the title as my personal blog, and then coming to the body. So first, let us see how this blog will look in the design. So this is the blog that we are going to develop. Like I have the logo on the left side, then I have the navigation along with the search button at the end. And then we have the carousel here, that is a slider. And there are two posts, which are popular posts under the heading popular post. And then the other post, where we have a different post on the left side, and about me and my popular post on the right side. So you can go on adding any more posts on the left side and also any links on the right side. And then finally, we have the footer. Now this site will look in the smallest viewport like this. Like we have the top, at the top we have the logo, then the navigation, followed with the search button, and then the carousel, and then we have popular posts. The other two popular posts, and then these are the other posts. And then we on the right side we have the about me, and then popular post, and finally the footer. So I will be taking the mobile first approach. So let's see how to develop this blog. So for the top area, like this part, the logo, the navigation, and the search button is placed inside a container. First I have the class of nav area. So inside this I have the nav bar header. Inside the nav bar header I have the icon of a far compact disk. This is just an icon I have given. You can give actual logo. And then followed it by the logo my blog. Next comes the navigation, where I have the home, travels, food and adventures with the chevron down arrow for drop downs. I'm not going to cover the drop downs in the navigation here. And then we have the search button. Thereafter we have a line to be drawn between the columns, and then under the main, the tag of main, I have a container, and inside that I have a slider main, and inside the slider we have the carousel. And then after that we have a section. We start with the sections. So first is the blog post. Inside that we have the heading of popular post. In the popular post, inside the container, I have the blog post of two blog posts. So you can see here, these are the two blog posts. This is first international and second is national. So if I widen the browser, you will be able to see better. So this is the first post and this is the second post. And then we have next the mid row. Under the mid row, we have the other posts. Like we have the other posts. Left side, these are the posts, different posts. And on the right side, these are the links. So coming to that, I have the mid row. Under that, I have put the div class as food. And all the three are given the same class, so that the coding will become easier. And then we have the image followed with the text. So these are the four columns. And then we have the right side. So the right side, as I said, first with the about me and then my popular post. So like we have first is the about me, that is div class of about, and then the div class of other post, where the other post, and followed with the footer. So this is the block that we are going to develop. If you look at the browser as to how this HTML code will look, if you look at the browser, you can see this is how the HTML will be lined up. It looks very shoddy. That's because we are not given the styling. So let's come to the style sheet now and do the styling, so that we will have the blog page as we have designed it to be. So now let's open the style sheet, mystyle.css. As you can see, I have given some basic code for the CSS. And first is the variables for the various colors that I am going to use. The advantage of using the variables is that anytime you want to change the color, you just have to change the variable here, this variable, and accordingly the color will change wherever the variable has been given in the CSS. Then they have the CSS reset of resetting all the paddings and margins, and also box sizing will be border box. And for the body, I have defined the font family of Helvetica, Arial, and sans serif. You can give any Google font. And then font size, I have kept it at 1.25 rem, that's about 20 pixels. Then font weight is 400 and with a line height of 1.6. And for the images, IMG, it's a display block and the width will be 100%. And for unordered list, ULLI, the code we have given list style none, that will remove all the dots. Otherwise, all the unordered items will come with the dot. And then for the anchor links, the text decoration none will remove the underlines for all the anchor items. And for sections, we have the padding, uniform padding of 2 rem to the top and bottom and 0 on the left and right. Followed with the headings H1, H2 and H3. The font weight is bold and I have given the line height at 1. That is because at the body we have given the line height as 1.6. And then for heading S2, S3 and then the paragraph item, you say margin bottom of 1 EM. So that for the headings S2, S3 and the paragraph, there will always be a margin at the bottom. And then text center, the class of text center, it's a text align center. Then also I have defined a class for text small. It will be the font size of 80% and the color of #555. And then the code of strong, where the font weight will be bold. So these are the basic codes. So having seen that, now let's go to the HTML and see how we will go on designing the different areas. To begin with, as you can see that we have centered the block content, leaving margin on the left side and the right side for different viewports, just to ensure that the web page is responsive. So how to make it responsive? So first let us target the container. So coming to the style sheet, first we'll target the container, and inside the container we'll define its width to be a minimum MIN of 90%, leaving a 10% margin, and then with the maximum of 70.5 rem. So this works out to about 1128 pixel roughly. And then with the margin inline of auto. The margin inline auto is margin left and margin right auto. So this is thanks to Kevin Powell, who has given us this responsiveness using the EMs or REMs instead of the pixels, which is working just fine. So let's see how this will work now. So next, let us target the nav class of nav area. So coming to the style sheet here, we say nav-area. And here I will use the flex box, it's a display flex, and justify content. Justify content, I will say space between, like these 3 items to space out. So we say justify content space between. And in the smallest viewport also, you can see that all the 3 items are aligned. And now we will give some spacing at the top here to the nav area. So for that we will say padding, say 1 rem to the top and bottom and 0 on the left and right. Now let me show this here. You can see it has come down by 1 rem. Next we align the logo items, that is the icon and the text. And you can see in the HTML that the logo items are under the class of header logo. Let's give the header logo, class of header logo, display flex, so that both these items are aligned next to each other. Once that is done, then we will also give spacing between these two. So for that we'll pick up the icon, that is the navbar brand, and give a margin to the right of say 0.5 rem. You can see there is some spacing that is come about. And also brand name, my blog, we will make it a little bolder. So it is coming under header logo P, the class of header logo P. So let's target that. The class of say header logo P, and here we say font weight bold. As you can see, now it has become bolder. Now let's give a hover effect to this header logo. Let's select this class of header logo and then define it a hover effect. So we say color variable, say var, say btn dash hover. You can see this variable of the colors. I've defined it at the top here, and this is the variable for btn hover. Now if you come and hover over this, you find the color changing to orange. Now similarly for the icon also, let's target the icon and give it hover. The icon is far compact disk. So we say far compact disk, we say hover. Define the same color. Let's copy this code and then paste it here. And now if I hover over it, you find that color also is changing to orange. Next, for the navigation items, we'll change the color for hover. Say nav ul and li hover. Same color. Let's define the same color here. Copy it and then paste it. And now when you hover, you'll find all the color changing to orange. Coming to the search icon, class is far dash search, and here we say hover. Again give the same color. So uniformly all of them will be hovering with the orange color. So this is how the navigation items and the top header portion is seen in the smallest viewport. Now when we go to the larger viewport, having the navigation item dropping down like this is not advisable provision. In a smaller viewport you can still work, but then if the number of items are more, then this can be put through a JavaScript and then made into a hamburger icon. So for the larger viewport, it is necessary that the navigation items should be aligned next to each other. So for that, let's use the media script. Just say media at media and say min width of say 48 em, which means about 768 pixels. This is the media query. So under this media query, we want these navigation items to moving next to each other. So let's target that class of nav ul and say display flex. You can see that they move next to each other. And, because it's a larger viewport, we will say flex direction row. Next, we also give some gap in between these two navigation items. So do that. Let's target the li. So we say nav ul and li. So here we say margin to the right, say 1 rem. Now if you come and see, navigation items are aligned next to each other, and this is the top navigation bar. I find the icons arrow down are slightly larger. So let's bring down their size. For that, let's target even the smallest viewport, let's target that class of far chevron down. And here we say the font size to be 0.8 rem. So this will ensure that both in larger viewport as well as smaller viewport, that the icon is become smaller. Next, we need to demarcate the header and the lower post. So for that, in the HTML, you already provided a div class of line. So let's come and define that div class of line. So we'll provide it a border of say 1 pixel solid, and give it a variable of say light. This is the as EEE. This is a light color. As you can see, we have the border here, a line which goes to the entire stretch, and even in the larger viewport, you find that the line is going through. Next, we move on to the carousel. You can see the HTML. Inside the container, we have the slider main. So let's come and define that slider main for the carousel. So first, let me give an indicator here that this is the carousel, so that it becomes easier to identify the code later on for a correction. And coming to the top here, let me define the header area. So this will be say header. Right. Now coming to the carousel here, so we have that class of slider main. Let's come pick up that class, come to my style sheet, and then define it a background with a gradient. I will say a linear gradient. It's a RGBA 0, 0, 0 and 0.7. And for the second RGBA, that is repeat the same code, and then we'll define the URL. For the URL, inside the images folder, we have the banner folder. Inside the banner folder, I have the image of banner.jpg. As you can see that the image does not appear straight away because this is the background image. So unless you define height, it will not appear. So, but let's complete the coding part. It's a background repeat. It's a no repeat, and background size. Let us say size of the cover, and background position. Position would be top. Then define the width to be 100%, and then define the height. Here we will say only 50 VH, that is 50% of the height, and you can see now the image appears. You can see that this text which moves over the background image. So this is by way of a carousel. So for that we need to define this image of slider main to be position relative. You can see that this is how the background image will look in the larger viewport. Now for us to get the carousel, we need to use the owl carousel. We need to now bring in the JavaScript of owl carousel. So for that we need to go to Google and then search for say owl carousel slider, and here you will find the responsive option. You click on that, and if you scroll down, you have the code of live example. Just copy this code and we come to the slider.js. So we need to paste this code in this slider.js, and before that we also need to add the document ready option for jQuery. This is document dot ready, and this is a function, and then the closing, we do it at the end here. Place the closing bracket at the end, and then we need to define the left and right arrows. So for the arrows, I am going to paste the code. This is the code. So owl, that's previous. This is for the previous arrow, and class owl.next for the next arrow with the font awesome icon of far chevron left and far chevron right. And then let's do some customization here to the carousel. First we say autoplay true because we want it to play automatically. And then we'll also define a smart speed of say 900. Then we'll say arrows true because we want the arrows on both sides. Then also dots we'll say true because we want the dots at the bottom. And then nav container say false. And thereafter we have the responsive class, and for the number of items to be displayed in all the three viewports we will have only single item, so that one item later it will be shown. So now if you come and see it in the browser, you can see that the text is visible, but it is not visible clearly because it is black. So let's come and target that div class of the text, that is div class of item. So let's pick up the class of item and come to the style sheet here. And here we will say, first we want the color to be white, and then we'll also say display flex, justify content center. We want the content to come to the center. Then also align items center. Now it has come to the center. Now we also say text align center. Next we need to get the carousel item to the center of the screen. For that we need to use this class of owl carousel. So coming to the style sheet here, we use the class of owl carousel. And here we'll say position absolute, and top will say 50% and left 50%. Now we find the content going right to the end of the right screen. So to bring it to the center, now we use the transform option or translate, say minus 50% horizontally and minus 50% vertically. You can see the content has come right to the center. Now the first item, the enjoy the travel, is bolder and the other two are smaller. That's because in the index I have given the first item as H1 and the other one as paragraph P item. So let's target that item of P to increase the font size, item P. First we'll define the font size of say 2.25 rem, and also say font weight to be bold, and then text align center. Okay, so here we are. So we have the carousel working now with the three dots. In the slider.js, we have given this chevron left and chevron right, the two arrows. Now for the smaller viewport, you would not need the arrows because we have the dots here. But when you go to the larger viewport, having those arrows will be convenient. In fact, the arrows are already there, but because they're black in color, so they're invisible. So for that, we need to target this class. We say for chevron left, say color white. You can see the arrow is appearing here. And similarly, when you use the other one, that is far chevron right, and use the same code and just change it to right, far chevron right, we'll have the second arrow here. Now we need to place these arrows one to the left here and one to the right here. For that, this will be requiring in the larger viewports. So let's take it to the media query. Let's say at media, we say min width of say 48 EM. For the larger viewports, we need them. And both this, we'll place it inside that. Now we'll define their position to the left and to the right. First we'll take far chevron left. So we say position, say absolute, say top 10%, and then say left about 5%. Then with the Z index of 1, and then also a font size for the icon to be 1.5 rem, and then a padding of 0.5 rem. Now let's see how they will look. Like you have the left side arrow here. Similarly, now let's go and target the right side. So the same code, I will copy it and then change the direction. Like instead of left, I will say right, and change this to right. Now you can see that we have both the arrows for the carousel working, and we also have the buttons working. So this is how the carousel will be seen in the larger viewport, and this is how the carousel will work in the smaller viewport. In the smaller viewport, we can push down this carousel slightly lower. So for that, come to the item, and then we say margin to the top, so 3 rem. Now you can see that it has come down by 3 rem, looks to be in the center. So this is how it will look in the larger viewport. Now they have given the 3 rem margin there. Now here also it has come down. So we need to change the height of the chevron. So instead of say 10, I'll say 30%. Let's see how it works. Okay, this works well. Okay, here also we'll say it is 30%. Right. Now that we have the carousel working, dots and the arrows. This completes the carousel. Next we move on to the popular post. So for the popular post, so we have the blog post here. So these are the two posts, international and national. So let's see how to define this column of blog post. So first of all, we have the class of blog. So let's target that class of blog. So I will give the description here as blog post. Target that class of blog. So here we'll give it a margin to the bottom of say 2 rem, just to provide some margin to the bottom between these two blocks. And then next we have the class of blog posts. So the blog post, the flex box direction to that, because in the larger viewport, we need the blog post to go into two columns. So here, that's why we'll give it the flex box. For that, let's target that class of say blog posts. Say display flex. But for a smaller viewport, you will say a flex direction column. Because only in larger viewport we want it to be flex direction of row. So here we want it to be columnar form. And then also give it a margin to the bottom, say 2 rem. Right. Next we go to the heading of the H3. that is blog post S3. Target that. Let's say blog post S3. As you can see in the original that we have the background for this heading. So for that, let's give first a padding of say 0.6 rem and also give it a background. So background here we will say var bg light, slightly blackish background. You can see now the background has gone slightly dark, and then because it's a dark background, we'll say the color of the text we want it to be white. You can see that it has become white. So here also, if you come down for both the S3, it will the background and the text become white. Next, we have the div class of text light, like this text. Let's target that. So we say class of text dash light. We want to make the color slightly lighter. So for that, let us define the color to be say hash 555, and then say font size of say 1 rem. Reduce its font size and give it a margin to the bottom of say 1 rem. So there is a gap between the date and the text below. Next, we target this image of arrow. Like we say, we have this image of arrow, image class of arrow. You can see this is the class. Let's take that class and come to the style sheet here, because we need to reduce the image size. We will provide it a width of say 40 pixels and also a height of say 40 pixels. We'll make it smaller. You can see it has become smaller, and also give it a margin to the left of say minus 0.8 rem. So it goes into alignment. Next, we need to align this image of the arrow and the text next to each other. For that, let's pick up this class of read more. Let's come to the style sheet and pick up that class read more. We'll say display flex. So the items will go next to each other, and also say margin to the bottom, say 1 rem. Right, now coming to the text of read more. The text of read more is in the class of item 2, item dash 2. So let's target that. The class of item dash 2. Here we will say the font size, we want it to be 1 rem, make it smaller. And also the color, we'll make it hash 111, so black. And then margin to the top to bring it down, bring the text down a little, we'll say 0.5 rem. Now you can see that the image and the text is aligned, properly aligned. So this will happen in both the posts. Now if you look at these two posts in the larger viewport, you will find that they are stacking one below the other. So we need to change that. For that, let's come to the style sheet here and pick up the media query. So here again we say at media, we'll say bin width 48 EM. First, we will target the heading under the section ID of blog post S2. So we will say ID blog post S2. We will give it a padding of say 2 rem to the top and bottom and 0 on the left and right. And as you can see that we have the heading here, popular posts. Then next come to the blog posts. The class of blog post, and then we give the flex box and also the width. So first we will define the width. We will say min 90%, 70.5 rem maximum, and then the margin inline auto. This is the width, and then we will say display flex. And you find nothing has happened here. That's because we have not given the flex direction, because in the smallest viewport we had set flex direction column. So here we say flex direction of row. Now you can see that both the posts are aligned next to each other. So we need to give further customization to this. So for that, let's come to the div class of blog. Select this class of blog. And this also will say display flex, and margin of 0 on the top and bottom and 2 rem on the left and right. So what will happen is these two posts will go inside the normal width. Now because we have brought this, moved it slightly inside, then even for the heading we need to move it inside by 2 rem. So for the blog post H2, you will also, here also will say margin to the left of 2 rem. Now if you see that the heading and both the posts are aligned next to each other. Next we come to the heading of blog post H3. This is the international and national, these two headings. So here we don't want the black background. We only wanted it in the smaller viewport. So here we'll say for blog post H3, the div class of blog post H3, we'll say background none. So we don't want the black background. And then padding also we'll say to be 0. And the color, say var bg light. Okay. Now if you come and see, these are the two columns that are next to each other. Next we target the text. So for that we have blog post paragraph P. So let's target that. We'll say class of blog dash post P. And here we'll define the width to be 90% because the text was moving very close to the image. So we restrict its width. So make it 90%. And then also reduce the font size to say 1 rem. And now we can see that the left side alignment and the image, and left side alignment and the image. Since I have realigned the text size, you can see that the left side content is taking lesser space than the image. So we need to realign the image. For that, let's come to the HTML and see that this is the class that covers the image, blog post image. So coming to the style sheet here, we'll take that class of blog-post.image and then img and resize the image. Let's say I will provide it a width of say 150 pixels and a height of say 210 pixels. Now if I come and see that the text and the images are properly aligned. But when it comes to the smaller viewport, there is no change because the image will go to the full stretch. Now, one other thing that I observe is that between the carousel and the line at the top, there's hardly any gap. So we need to give a little gap there. For that, let's go to the carousel right at the top and to the slider main. Let me give it a margin to the top of say 2 rem. Now if I come and check it, yes. Now the carousel has moved down a little, and this is how the carousel and the popular post column gets completed in the larger viewport, and this is how it will look in the smaller viewports. Next we move on to the other posts. For the other post, we have the section ID of mid-row, and then the heading followed with the div class of mid-row, and then div class of food, and food image, the image and the text. So if I come to the smallest viewport, I can see that this is the heading, and this is the image followed by heading and text, and there is a button, and the next post, these are the 4 posts. And let's now carry out the changes that are required. So in the smallest viewport, like first we will see the heading of food text H3. Let's target this heading. So coming to the my style sheet. So here first I will give a description. I'll say this is mid-row. And then take that class of a food text H3, and here as you can see, we'll need to give some padding between the heading and the image. So let's give a padding to the top, say 1 rem. You can see some spaces come about. And then next we'll target the class of food. Now here we need to give some gap between the button and the next image. So let's take this class of food, that is the column. And then define padding to the bottom of say 2 rem. We have the 2 rem padding differentiating between the 2 columns. The next we will target the button. If the button is defined by the class BTN outline, let's select this class and then come to my style sheet, and here we'll say BTN outline. First, let's provide it a border. So border, say 1 pixel solid, and give it a color of or you say BTN hover. And then give it a padding of say 0.5 rem and 0.7 rem. 0.5 rem to the top and bottom, and 0.7 rem to the left and right. As you can see, the button is now taking shape. And also give it a border radius, so of say 20 pixels. It can take it taking a round shape, and we'll also give it a cursor pointer, so that when we take the cursor here, it becomes a hand. Now let's give a hover color to this button. So select this class and then give it a hover effect. For the hover, we'll define the background of the variable, again BTN hover. Now if you go and hover, you can see that the color changes to orange. So this happens in all the 4 columns where there are buttons. Then this text in the smaller viewport I find is slightly larger, and the text is covered by the class of text tasty. So let's copy that. The text is never tasty, but then I have given it a class, and here we will say the font size of say 1 rem. Okay, now that the text has come to about 1 rem. Now this looks all right in the smaller viewport, the other post. Now when we come to the larger viewport, now here you find that all the contents are stacked one below the other, so that we need to align them into two separate columns, one to the left and one to the right. Let's come and define the media query. We say at media, and here we say min width of say 48 em, and inside this we'll first define width. We'll restrict the width to this section itself. So section ID of mid row. So it's the ID mid row. Here we'll define the width to be minimum of say 90%, so that we'll keep a 10% gap between them, and then a maximum of say 70.5 rem. And since we are restricted the width, let's give the margin inline to be auto. Now what will ensure is that these posts, both these walls, will come within 90% width of the upper part. So we are going to reduce the width of this lower columns to be 10% less than what it was here, and this is 10% less than the carousel. So that's why we are going to stack it. So having defined that, now let's come to the class of mid row. Let's select this class to define the width. So coming to the class of mid row, here we define it a width of say 56%. So you can see that the size has come down, and the other side, the right side, you will have to still configure. So first we'll finish off the left side, and then we move on to the right side. So the left side we are now given 56% width for the mid row, and then give it a margin left of say 5%, so that we have width of almost 85% for these two columns total, and then float this column to the left. Right now nothing is happening because we need to define the right side also. Like you can see, only the heading has come about, the other and contents, because the image is too large, so it is not coming up right now. So we have to define the width of the right side. So we'll come to that. We'll come to the right side. So first we'll complete with the left side, then come to the heading. So we say ID of mid row S2. So we need to give some padding to that. We will provide a padding of say 1 rem to the top and bottom and 0 on the left and right. Now you can see that the other post, it gives a 1 rem padding, and then we will also need to move this text to the right. So for that we need to again give a margin to the left. Let us give a margin to the left of say 3.2 rem. Let's check it up. Yes. Now the heading and the contents align. And next we take the class of food for aligning the image and the text. So we need to align this image and the text. So let's select that class of say food. Here we say display flex, and provide it a gap of say 2 rem between the two columns. Now you can see this has become smaller, but to understand it better, let's first define the right side also. So let me come and define the right side. And here also it should be for the media query. At media, say bin width 48 em. And here we'll define that right side width of say 25%. And then we'll float this also to the left. Now you can see that both the columns are aligned, but the footer also is coming up here because of the float, what we've given the float. So first let's move that footer down. So let me go to the narration and say this is the footer. And here also we'll say the class of footer. We clear both. Now this will ensure that the float is gone and the footer has come to the bottom. So now let's get back to the aligning these columns before you go to the right side. So coming back to the mid row, we will have to make the images smaller. But these images are slightly bigger. So to align the images, let us select that class of food image. Like we have this class of food image. So let's come here and then paste that and then target the image img. The width we will give as absolute about 300 pixels and the height also about absolute 300 pixels. Now if I come and see, all the images are come to the same height and width. And then next comes the content. Now we need to align this content. So aligning this content, let's take the class of food text. So this is a class which contains the text. And here also we'll say display flex. But here if you only say display flex, you'll find that these columns are stacking. So we need to further say the flex direction is column, so that the text will come below that. And then we will give it justify content. So we will say justify content. We want it to come to the center. Now if you come and see that the entire content will come right to the center of the image. So this is how we want it to appear. And this text I find is just going almost near the content of the next column. So let's restrict that a little. So for that let's target that class of text tasty. So this class, and here we will say the width will restrict it to say about 80%. Yes. Now you can see that the left side column are properly aligned with the content coming right to center. Now have we completed the left side? Now let's move to the right side. Now coming to the right side, like we have two columns, like about and other post. So first let us take the mobile version. Now if you come down here, you see that this is the heading about me. So let's target that. Let's take this heading of about me, and the heading comes under the div class of about h3. So let's target that class of about h3. And first of all, let us give it a background of say var bg light. So you can see that it gets a black background. So let's give some padding to that. So padding of say 0.5 rem. Okay, and then the color of the text, we want it to be white, so color white. Font size, let's keep it at 1.3 rem. Okay, so this is the first heading about me. Then next, let's come to the text here. Let's give some gap between the text. So the text here is the class of text small. Let's select that. Provide the class of text small, and here I'll give it a padding to the top, say 0.5 rem. So there will be a slight gap between the image and the text. Then let's take the second heading. The second heading comes with the class of other post h3. So let's select this other post, say h3, and here also we'll have the same configuration. Okay. So then we have the images and the text. Now for the text, let's give a little gap there. So that comes under other post UL and LI. So let's come and target that, say class of other post, other dash post, UL, LI. And here we say font size, we want it to be 1 rem. And then font weight, we will say bold, we'll make it bolder. And then give it a padding of say 0.5 rem to the top and bottom, 0 on the left and right. So it gives some gap between the heading and the next image. So this is the left side part for the other post. So let's come to the larger viewport now. You can see this is how this will look in the larger viewport. So this will complete the other posts part. And next we move on to the footer. So coming to the footer, so we have the class of a footer. We come to the style sheets. We have already defined the class of footer. Now we'll give it a background, define it a background, var, we say BG. Now you can see that it has got a background here. Then we will give the color of the text to be white because it's a darker background. And then we'll also give it a padding. Of the padding, say 3 rem to the top and bottom and 0 on the left and right. Now if you come and see it, again, this is how the footer will look in the larger viewport. This is how it will look in the smaller viewport. We need to bring the text to the center. So for that we have the paragraph item there. So we say footer P, class of say footer P, and we say text align center. Okay, and then also reduce the font size. We'll make it say 1 rem. Okay. Then when you come and look at it in the larger viewport, so this is how it will look. So we give hover effect to this footer text. So for that, let's select this class of footer P and give it a hover option. And here we'll say the color, we want it to be var BTN hover. So now if you come and see that when you hover, the color changes to orange. So even in the smaller viewport, it's the same. So this finally completes the blog page. In this video, I have covered only 2 viewports, that is the mobile viewport and after the 48 EM, that is after 768 pixels. But you can see the responsiveness of the page by giving this type of media query. The transition of the page, the different viewports is smooth. So in case if required, you can add many more media queries depending on the content. So I will stop the video here. So I hope this was useful. Thank you.